Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most enduring and wild conspiracy theories out there, the New World Order, or NWO for short. If you've ever heard whispers about a secret elite pulling the strings of the world, orchestrating everything from wars to economic crashes, then you've brushed up against this idea. But what is it really? Is it a legit warning about global power, or just a paranoid fantasy that's gotten out of hand? Stick around, because we're going to unpack its history, its believers, and why it's still a thing in 2025. Hit that like button if you're ready to explore, and let's get started. So, at its core, the New World Order conspiracy theory is this idea that a shadowy group of powerful people, think billionaires, politicians, maybe even secret societies like the Illuminati, are working together to create a single, totalitarian world government. The plan? Replace all the nations we know today with one big authoritarian regime that controls everything. No more borders, no more sovereignty, just one elite calling the shots. And the kicker? They're supposedly doing it through sneaky moves like starting crises, pushing globalist policies, and brainwashing us with propaganda. Now, this isn't just some random rumor. It's a theory with legs. People have been talking about it for decades, and it's popped up in everything from books to movies to late-night discussions online. The vibe is always the same. There's a hidden cabal out there, and they're closer than we think to taking over. But where did this idea even come from? Let's rewind the clock. The roots of the NWO theory go way back, and one of the big starting points is this infamous document called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Written in the early 1900s, it claimed to be a secret plan by Jewish leaders to dominate the world. Spoiler alert, it was a total hoax. Experts like Philip Graves in 1921 and Norman Cohn in the 60s showed it was plagiarized from a French satire about Napoleon III, cooked up by Russian secret police to stir up trouble. But the damage was done. That fake document fueled anti-Semitic fears and planted seeds for later conspiracy theories, including the NWO. Fast forward to the 20th century, and you've got the world wars shaking things up. People started looking at global events, economic crashes, political shifts, and wondering, who's really behind this? By the 1940s, a guy named H.G. Wells wrote a book called The New World Order, but here's the twist. He wasn't talking about a sinister plot. He was imagining a utopian, technocratic world state. Conspiracy theorists, though, took that phrase and ran with it in a totally different direction. Then came the Cold War, and things got spicier. In the US, the Red Scare had people freaking out about communism. Some folks, especially on the far right, started saying liberals and progressives were secretly paving the way for a godless, collectivist one-world government. Add in fears about Freemasons, the Illuminati, and Jewish elites, thanks to people like Canadian theorist William Guy Carr, and you've got a recipe for the modern NWO myth. The NWO really hit its stride in the late 20th century. Before the 90s, it was mostly a niche thing, popular with anti-government types and some fundamentalist Christians who tied it to end-times prophecies about the Antichrist. But then, something shifted. Scholars like Michael Barkin and Chip Burley point to this moment when the theory broke into the mainstream. Why? Well, the Cold War ended, globalization kicked into high gear, and people started feeling uneasy about losing control. Think about it. Trade deals like NAFTA, the rise of the United Nations, and even President George H.W. Bush using the phrase New World Order in a 1991 speech, it all fed the narrative. To some believers, it wasn't just rhetoric. It was proof the plan was underway. Suddenly, the NWO wasn't just for fringe pamphlets. It was on talk radio, in blockbuster movies like The X-Files, and even getting nods from public figures. One big player in this era was Pat Robertson, the televangelist. In his 1991 book The New World Order, he claimed global elites were using groups like the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission to dismantle national sovereignty. He mixed in some biblical prophecy, warning about a coming one-world government tied to the Antichrist. Critics slammed it as fear-mongering, but it sold like hotcakes and got people talking. And then there's the internet. By the late 90s and early 2000s, online forums and chat rooms turned the NWO into a viral phenomenon. Conspiracy sites popped up, accusing everyone from bankers to the Bilderberg Group, a real annual meeting of influential people, of being NWO masterminds. The theory started mutating too. Some said it was about population control through vaccines. Others pointed to 9/11 as an inside job to justify global surveillance. It was like a choose-your-own-adventure conspiracy. So who's supposedly running this new world order? The cast of characters depends on who's telling the story. For some, it's secret societies, the Illuminati, Freemasons, you name it. These groups have been conspiracy favorites since the 1700s, with people claiming they've been plotting world domination forever. There's zero hard evidence, but the mystique keeps them in the spotlight. Then you've got the globalist angle. Organizations like the United Nations, the World Health Organization, or the World Economic Forum get accused of being NWO fronts. Critics say their push for international cooperation is a Trojan horse for control. Take the WEF's Great Reset initiative from 2020, conspiracy theorists saw it as a smoking gun, even though it was just a proposal to rethink economics after COVID. And don't forget the anti-Semitic thread. From the Protocols hoax to modern rants about Jewish bankers like the Rothschilds, this ugly strain keeps resurfacing. Scholars like Daniel Pipes have called it out as a lazy scapegoat, but it's still part of the NWO lore for some. Politicians and billionaires round out the list, people like George Soros, Bill Gates, or even random US presidents. The idea is they're all in cahoots, meeting in secret to divvy up the world. No proof, of course, but that's never stopped a good story. Alright, so it's 2025, and people are still talking about the NWO. Why? Well, for one, it's a perfect catch-all. Lost your job? Blame the NWO. Worried about climate policies? NWO. It's like a Swiss Army knife for explaining anything you don't like about the world. Psychologists say it taps into something deep, our need to make sense of chaos. When stuff like pandemics or wars hit, it's comforting to think someone's in charge, even if they're evil. Plus, distrust in institutions is at an all-time high. Look around today. Conversations about the NWO keep popping up because people feel like governments and corporations are hiding something. But here's the flip side. Most experts, historians, political scientists say it's bunk. There's no evidence of a coordinated global takeover. Real-world elites argue and compete all the time. They're not exactly a united front. And yet, the theory keeps evolving. Today, it's tied to AI, digital currencies, even space exploration. Some folks are even whispering about Mars missions being part of the plot. So, what's the verdict? Is the New World Order a real threat, or just a modern myth? Honestly, it's probably a bit of both. Power does concentrate. Corporations and governments do shape our lives in ways we don't always see. But the idea of a single, all-knowing cabal? That's where it gets shaky. History shows humans are too messy, too selfish, to pull off a flawless global conspiracy. Still, the NWO endures because it's more than a theory, it's a story. It's about fear, hope, and the search for meaning. Whether you buy it or not, it's worth asking, who does hold power, and how do we keep them in check? Let me know what you think in the comments. Have you heard any wild NWO theories lately? Are we missing something big? Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We've got more wild topics coming your way. See you next time.
I got a brand new saxophone.